Hey guys. Yeah, I'm still sleepy. Everyone else in the house is still asleep. But right now, I'm checking out some notes about my divisibility rules on my laptop. I think divisibility rules are extremely important when we deal with fractions in math. The bummer is with fractions, you always have to simplify your fractions. Well, if you know your divisibility rules, it makes it a lot easier. Here, come take a peek. Check out my laptop. Check it out. Today, I'm just going to talk about some divisibility rules for 4 numbers. We're going to talk about the number 2, the number 3, the number 10, and then the number 5. I mean, there's divisibility rules for other numbers, but I just find that these 4 numbers are, in my opinion, the most important. If you can recognize the rules for these 4, you can easily simplify your fractions, and you don't have to think too much about it because I think they're all pretty easy. So let's take a look. The first one we're going to look at is the divisibility rule for number 2. Now this rule is if the last digit is an even number. So as you're looking at a set of numbers, if the very last digit is an even number, then it's divisible by 2. Now, what does that mean? Even numbers, remember, those are 2, 4, 6, 8. You guys all know the little song, you all can count by 2s. But if a number ends in 2, 4, 6, 8, or 0, you can divide by 2. So let's check out some examples. You look at the number 18. Always look what it ends in. Well, it ends in an 8. Is 8 an even number? It sure is. So that means 18 is divisible by 2. Let's check out the next number. Next number we're going to check out is 37. Well, 37 ends in a 7, and 7 is not an even number, so this one would not be divisible by 2. The number 82, though, well, 82 ends in a 2, which is an even number, so that tells us that it's divisible by 2. See if you can check out the next one by yourself. So the next number is 59. I want you to think about it. Is that divisible by 2? If you said no, you were absolutely correct because it ends in a 9, and 9 is not an even number. And then we get 104. 104 ends in a 4, and if you look at that top list, 2, 4, 6, 8, well, 4 is an even number, so you're right. It is divisible. And finally, let's look at 93. Guys, 93 ends in a 3. 3 is not an even number, so not divisible. So as you can see, divisibility rules for 2 are fairly simple. The next digit that I'm going to cover is the divisibility rules for 3. Now 3 can, actually no, 3 is not tricky at all. 3 is very straightforward, very basic. The divisibility rule for 3 states the sum of the digits are divisible by 3. What does that even mean? Well, when I say the sum is a fancy little way of saying when you add up the numbers, the sum is the answer to the addition problem. So to clarify this, let's check out the next page. So simply, is it divisible by 3? Well, first, I think you need to know your multiples of 3. Because if there's a multiple of 3, that means it's divisible by 3. So think about a multiplication chart you may have seen. Or maybe in your class, your teacher had you sing a song to remember the multiples of 3. But I listed a few down below. It says 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21. So if the sum of our digits equal any of those numbers, or any other number that's a multiple of 3, that means you can divide that number by 3. Because that's the goal. We want to divide these numbers so we can simplify them as fractions, or just simply divide the numbers so they go in there evenly. That's all it means to be divisible by something. So I listed a set of 4 numbers: 54, 116, 93, and 13. Now let's look at the last, let's find the sum of these numbers. So this is what it means. Check out 54 up top. All I'm going to do is separate the 54. So I'm going to add 5 plus 4. Now what's 5 plus 4? It's a 9. Is 9 a multiple of 3? It sure is. So 9 is a multiple of 3, which means that 54 is divisible by 9. That means you can divide 54 by 3 and there will be no leftovers. 1 plus 1 plus 6 is 8. So 116, when you add up the sum of those digits, you get the number 8. 8 is not a multiple of 3. So 116 cannot be divided by 3 evenly. So 116 is not divisible by 3. All right, the next one, 9 plus 3. What is 9 plus 3? It's 12. Well, right there to the left, you can see that 12 is a multiple of 3. So that means that 3 can go into 93 evenly, which means 93 is divisible by 3. And finally, you get number 13. So 1 plus 3. What is 1 plus 3? Try this one out on your own real quick. Yep, 1 plus 3 is 4. But guys, 4 is not a multiple of 3, which means 3 cannot fit into 13 evenly. So number 3 is pretty easy. All right, we got 2 more. This one might be one of the easiest ones out there. We got good old number 5. Is it divisible by 5? Well, the rule for 5 is simple. It says if the last digit is either a 5 or a 0, that means that number can be divisible by 5. Well, let's check it out. Now, the divisibility rule for 5, like I said, is one of the easiest to remember. And remember, if something's divisible by something, that means you can divide it by that number and there will be no leftovers. So look at 112. Does 112 end in a 5 or a 0? Well, let's highlight the last numbers and let's see. Man, 112 ends in a 2. That's not a 5 or a 0. So that means 112 is not divisible by 5. You cannot put 5 into it evenly. Look at 50. That ends in a 0. So that means it is divisible by 5. Number 84. That does not end in a 5 or a 0. So that is not divisible by 5. And then finally, 5,975. Well, that ends in a 5. Well, that tells me that this number can be divided by 5. It's divisible by 5, and it will not have any leftovers. So yes, that one is divisible by 5. And I think I'm going to wrap it up with the number 10. Number 10 is, man, it's pretty straightforward. Number 10 just states the number ends in 0. Guys, if a number ends in a 0, that means that it can be divided by 10 with no leftovers. Now, you might have seen on that first page where a number is divisible by 2 if it ends in an even number. And I put 2, 4, 6, 8, but I also put and 0. If a number ends in 0, you can also divide it by 2. But the easiest thing is to divide it by 10. So let's check this out. Let's look at this set of numbers. So I have 10, and I listed 4 numbers once again. Now let's look at the last digits. Well, the last digits are easy. On 90, what's that last digit? It's a 0. Well, 90 can be divisible by 10 because 90 divided by 10 is 9. The number 38 cannot be divisible by 10, or excuse me, it cannot be divided by 10 because it's going to have some leftovers, and we don't want those leftovers. When you're simplifying a fraction, you cannot divide 38 by 10. 30 ends in a 0, so you guessed it. It is divisible by 10. And then finally 120, take a guess. Yep, 120 is divisible by 10. So, guys, I told you it's pretty basic. Divisibility rules. I think they're really important, especially when we're trying to simplify fractions, which we always have to do. I know it's a bummer, but it's just one of those things. In math, fractions always need to be simplified. Now, I've said it a few times throughout the video. If something is divisible by another number, that just means you can divide it by that number and there will be no leftovers. because especially when you are simplifying fractions, you don't want any leftovers. Okay? So, again, we went over divisibility rules for 2, for 3, for 5, and for 10. If you have any questions, feel free to leave me a comment below. But I hope this helped you out. And check out my other videos if you get a chance. All right. I'm going to go get another cup of coffee because I'm exhausted. And I hope you have a great day. Later.